We have some great reviews for you this week, so make sure you stick around for those. Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. I'm Mark Walker. Remember to stick around if you enjoy the content. We give away a free game. Well, we give away lots of free games actually. Yeah. Happy Father's Day if you're here in the UK, and this is part 2 of the sales coverage of the current ridiculous sale. Once you finish this video and if you haven't checked it out, I'll put a link in the top comment to the other side of this sale. Thanks so much for helping us to almost reach 185,000 subscribers. That is crazy. And with that said, let's jump into the sales and try and root out the very best deals. What's on sale? Let's find out. First up, and my friend Alex from Switch Corner and I are massive fans of the game Firewatch. It's an absolutely incredible narrative experience where you play as Henry, who essentially has fled away from his busy life and all the difficulties that he was facing to become a fire lookout in the middle of Wyoming. It has that very interesting quality that films like Stand By Me have. They almost give you that sense of escapism of your youth that's really difficult to recreate, but there's a feeling of tension or dread underlying the whole experience. I guess a bit like a film like The Beach, where on the surface everything seems hunky-dory, but by the end, my goodness, there's a relationship that builds between the main character and another fire warden, and it all plays out over the radio. It's such an excellent game. And Campo Santo, again, we were chatting about this. It's just a shame we're not going to see a sequel. It will take you around about 5 hours to complete. It's 2.1 gigs to download, and it's currently 70% off, taking it down to £4.49 or your regional equivalent. Another one in a similar vein but taking on a different perspective is Oxenfree. I really enjoyed this game. It has a more supernatural slant to it, but it's the dialogue between the main characters that's most captivating. It's incredibly naturalistic, and as you walk across the island, you'll struggle not to place yourself in these characters' shoes. It has a real sense of adventure about it as well, but again, things get a little bit strange, and there's certainly more than a little life is strange about this one, as well as Stranger Things. In the Switch version, they included a bit of HT Rumble and other things, and there are multiple choices with a unique dialogue system. While one playthrough is going to take you around about 4 or 5 hours, you can unlock a few little secrets if you play through a couple of times. It's 2.2 gigs, and that sale goes on until June the 27th at 70% off at just over £2. Oh, and a quid is a pound, by the way. Someone in the last time got very upset that I used the word quid. It's a pound, one English pound. If you're after a bit more mindless action with a very nice art style, then Ruiner might be the one for you. It's £4.49, so 70% off. It's the cheapest it's ever been, and it has that cyberpunk aesthetic and soundtrack that really appeals to so many people, including myself. In fact, when I first saw this one, part of me was hoping that maybe we were getting a Syndicate style game. I would absolutely love for there to be a remake or remaster of the Syndicate series. Such an absolutely brilliant series. It's another Devolver release, and as we know, they tend to really know how to pick them. It is 18, it is very adult, and it's a whole lot of fun. 7.5 gigs, around about 10 to 12 hours if you want to do absolutely everything, but a single playthrough is going to take about 7 or 8, and the sale goes on until June the 27th. I really enjoyed Journey to the Savage Planet. The performance wasn't great at launch, and it's still not perfect on Switch, but I'd say it's good enough, especially at this price. It's currently £9.99, which is 60% off, and it's a very interesting first-person adventure title where you land on a planet known as RE26, and much like one of my favourites, No Man's Sky, you have to categorise all the different plants and species, but there's a bit of combat in here as well, and it's more handcrafted. What I really like about it is it's one of those games that has an incredibly sardonic humour. Half the time you don't know whether it's taking the pee or if it's trying to be serious, and very often you'll find yourself actually reflecting on some things that are hitting a little bit closer to home. There's a DLC for this one available called Hot Garbage. And that centres around a newly proposed resort called Boomerdale. So yeah, very good first person adventure games, 3.9 gigs. And as all the others, that sale also goes on until June the 27th. When A Hat in Time came out on Switch, it did so with not the biggest fanfare in all honesty. Again, it was at probably a poor time when there were a lot of big titles being released, but it's a brilliant game. If you're a fan of something like, I don't know, Mario 3D or Mario Galaxy, then this will certainly appeal to you. It's a very old school, in air quotes, 3D platformer who uses different hats to give her different abilities. And just while I remember it, in the last game we looked at, it does also have online co-op play, so yeah, I should have said that at the time. And I could edit this in over there, but I can't be bothered, so let's carry on with this one. You'll travel through space, and as with those aforementioned old school platform adventures, you'll have to do a certain amount of collecting in each stage before you can progress. It's got a really nice sense of humour, some great boss enemies, and it's had a couple of patches since launch, because it was a bit iffy when it first came out. I think Glen mentioned this in his physical video as well. There are 2 DLC packs, Seal the Deal and Yakuza Metro. I think I said that right. So yeah, if you enjoy it, there's always a little bit extra that you can purchase to continue your story. You're looking at around about 13 to 15 hours to do everything, and it's a 16.3 gigabyte download, so it's a bit of a beast. There is 1 or 2 player co-op as well, so yeah, there's lots to do here, and it's just a great one. Then I'd recommend The Outer Worlds. This has seen numerous patches as well as DLC launched since it came out, and it's in a much better state than it was at the beginning. I covered this one in one of our patched up episodes, and even since then it's had some more patches. It's a shame because when a game releases in a sorry state, its Metacritic score gets absolutely hammered, but then no one ever goes back to revisit. Should they do that? Probably not. The developer should put the time in to get it right the first time, and it's a bit of a reflection of the way things are at the minute, but it has to be said, The Outer Worlds is a much better game than it was. It does have gyroscopic aiming for the controls as well, for getting those nice little cheeky headshots, and the Peril of Gorgon DLC I reviewed on the channel, and it was decent, good fun. Could have been a bit longer, but still carried that same flavour. If you're looking for a Fallout game on Switch and clearly you're not going to find it, this is as close as you're currently going to get. 60% off until June the 27th, and also physically 60% off as well. A little bit more expensive, but equally worth picking up, is Doom Eternal. I reviewed this on the channel and had an absolute blast. It was pretty crazy, really, wasn't it, how they actually managed to bring this one across, and it still looks decent. It has the gyroscopic controls that I so enjoy, and also we've got the Ancient Gods expansion, which has just come out, I believe, so it's up to date now, which is nice. If you played the Doom, was it 2016 re-release? This introduced a couple of new mechanics, but essentially just shooting everything in the face like you always were, and doing it in style. It still has those awesome slow-mo moves. There's a touch more verticality this time around, and I'd say the stages are slightly better in terms of their design and layout. There's also a very cool new multiplayer mode that pits 2 players against 1. I won't stick it in this video, but the alternative to this one for me would be Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. That has a similar perspective, but a slightly different pace of gameplay. It's a little bit slower and more story driven, but they're both really excellent games and well worth owning. And they're both on the same sale at 50% off, taking them down to just over, or just under I should say, 25 quid. I feel like I'm trolling that guy now with the quid thing, but I'm going to keep it up. He's probably shaking and shuddering in his mum's basement, hammering his comments out. Then we've got Battle Chasers Night War. This was one of the earliest reviews we had on the channel. This is way back in the day, and comes from publisher THQ and developer Eshop Syndicate. It's an RPG come action game, but the combat is essentially if you took old school turn-based JRPG combat. I really enjoyed the storyline, I like the delivery, I think the art style is absolutely beautiful. It does get a touch grindy, like they purposely do that annoying thing where they make you do a load of fights towards the end of the game that aren't entirely necessary. But overall, I think my overall takeaway is of a very good title. It also has a lovely overworld map, similar to the one we saw in Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales actually, in terms of the way it's designed. And there's a crafting system as well. And yeah, I just enjoyed this one. I know some people didn't like that grindy aspect, but I mean, it's based on 90s RPGs, what do you expect? It's got a download size of 2.6 gigs. It will take you around about 50 to 70 hours to do everything. And at just over £11, that's a bit of a bargain. Then there's the incredible Spiritfarer, which I didn't come to until well late in the pub. Last but not least, we've got the kids pick, or hidden gem if you want to call it that as well. Sometimes they pick gems, yeah. And it has to go to The Tourist. I likened this to Little Big Adventure, if you remember that game, and its excellent sequel way back in the day. It has a real whimsicalness. Whimsicalness? Is that even a thing? It has a really whimsical style and feeling to it, and you can move between different islands, undertaking some very off-the-cuff adventuring. Now, there's a bit of platforming in here as well as some very cool boss fights with some unique mechanics. It's not your usual 3 hits and they die. It's trying to figure out exactly what's going on to be able to defeat them. What I like about it is that it embraces freedom. So if you get in the water, you want to go for a swim, you can do it. You can do some surfing, buy different clothes to wear. And it feels like a game that's designed to be fun. It has things like an arcade in it and comes from Shinen Multimedia. Now, Shinen are synonymous for just being a developer that make incredibly enjoyable games. You'll have to take my word for it if you've never heard of them before. But all of this comes in a 246 megabyte package. That's some seriously good coding. It's 30% off, taking it down to £12.59, and that's the cheapest it's ever been. There is also a demo of this one, so if you want to check that out first, then go and do so. That sale ends on June the 27th. I do like to keep it to 10 games each week because it makes it a little bit more succinct, and that's really difficult in a sale like this. If I cough and say Full Metal Furies at £4.49 and you went and searched it and purchased it, you could do a lot worse. But now we need to look at 2 games you should avoid, because playing them might put your health at genuine risk. And this one isn't jumping on the bandwagon. I genuinely think it wasn't the best designed. And it's Wolfenstein Youngblood. That's currently on a big sale at 50% off, taking it down to £12.49. I don't care that it was 2 females as the leads. I don't give a monkeys. I thought the actual structure of the game wasn't very good. And the Switch version in particular was just poor. It felt like they didn't know whether to go full MMO with it or something, and they tried to find like a middle ground. It just didn't work for me. Yes, some of the dialogue between those 2 characters was also, oh my goodness, it put the cringe into cringe. It just was bad. The best part about it is that you can play with a friend. That's, that idea, I like that. I think that's a good inclusion. But unfortunately, the Wolfenstein series before this thrived on being excellent storytellers while really giving a brilliant single-player experience. Nah, this one just didn't cut the mustard for me. And last but not least, there's back again, Champions of Destroyer, when your 7-year-old daughter also agrees that the game's absolute trash. You need to make sure it goes in that avoid list. It was quite funny actually, because very often with these games you get to see them early, and I had to sit through like an hour-long meeting with the developers, and I'm looking at it and like you could ask questions, and I'm asking these questions about the battle system, which is incredibly tedious. Basically things like, that looks incredibly tedious, does it change at all? And you can you can see like some awkward looks between them, and they're like, yeah, no, it gets much more interesting as the game goes on. But it doesn't at all. It's exactly this. As you can see on the screen, you're running to grab things off the floor that then allow you to throw them at your back again to make them do their moves. So essentially the combat system amounts to run after the glowing thing quicker than the other person. It is a shocker, and that is why you should avoid it, even if you're a kid. And that is it for this week. There are at least probably 100 other good games that you could buy, but the ones in this list I think offer very good value for money. And all the big name first party titles, I mean, look, if you want a first party title, most of them are reduced at the moment, so crack on. But if you want a real deal, then yeah, I think these ones, as well as the ones in the other video we've done, link in the top pinned comment, represent that. Let me know down in the comments what your pickups have been. I know some of you have gone absolutely bonkers and have been buying like it's been going out of fashion. I think I'm in that list. And yeah, hope you've had a nice weekend. A big thanks to our Patreons who support us each and every month. And if you want to join those, all the links are in the top pinned comment. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya!